Hey everybody, my name is Clark. I'm here with Kai Bartlett, and what a great opportunity we have here to talk story. For those of you who don't know Kai, here's a kind of a chance to get to know him a little bit and learn about his canoe designs, some of the thoughts that go into it. And really the reason we got going today is his new canoe design has a lot of people talking, and it's got me really excited. So I want to talk about that. Before we do that though, Kai, welcome. And if you could maybe take a sec, tell us a little bit about yourself and walk us through kind of the evolution of your designs over the years, maybe some of your mentors, some of your shaping kumu that have maybe taken the time and put you under their wing to teach you what you know.
No, easy. And thank you for this opportunity. Like we're small talking earlier, it's, for me with being a family man and having kids at home, it's hard for me to get out and do too much traveling constantly. So to be able to share this with you and then it's getting out to everybody that way is killer. I want to raise my kids. I don't want to be a walking salesman traveling everywhere. So it's all good. A lot of my thanks that and the guy knows it and I always praise him for it is this guy, Brent Bixler, really kind of taught me how to do the hand shaping and stuff. And a lot of people might be familiar with his traditional 6-man amas, the Bixler amas. He was also behind, the Class Racer canoe, the Force 5 canoe. He helped Corel design the OC6 and the Mirage. He's been in the industry for years. And I was lucky enough to be able to work side by side with him when he was doing a lot of the designs for Corel Outrigger Connection back in the day. So I owe a lot of my thanks to him and John Martin and Corel for just teaching me different ways, different, skills along the way. John really taught me just the basic fiberglassing, painting, all that. Corel, brought me in and taught me the whole vacuum bagging. And then of course I learned how to shape with Brent there at Corel's. And Corel also taught me, one thing I got to thank him for is he taught me the business side of it, like cut out all the layers and just get it done. You're in this industry. It's not the healthiest industry when you're actually the manufacturer. So you might as well make some money at it. And, I look at other people that are building locally and I'm so thankful that he taught me how to work, because I look at other companies and, they got tons of employees kind of doing the same amount of stuff that we could do just with 3 or 4 guys, So, he really, again, taught me how to just cut out all the layers and just get it done and do it right. And
you mentioned 2 names there. Right outside my window, I've got a John Martin OC2 that I'm going to be racing this weekend in Arizona. And
nice. Yeah, the dam race.
Yeah, I'm going to go to that. My wife are going to paddle his canoe. And then I've got a Stingray that I have in my backyard as well, which is my first OC1. And so talk about 2 names that have really been a part of my paddling so far.
No, and those are 2 of the original names when it comes to, one-man designs and one-man's on the market.
Yeah.
Corel and John was happy doing his fiberglass stuff, but he had some nice designs out there, and he was one of the originators, and as was Corel, but Corel was really into pushing that envelope, trying to get lighter and stronger and go all that whole route back was that late 90s, mid 90s. So
mm-hmm.
I kind of had the best of both worlds back then, as introduction. I call that my apprenticeship back then.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you got going, what walk us through your designs and how it's come to where you're at today?
I'm not sure if you see, my wife released a thing of like all the canoe names that we've done in the past. When I was at Corel's, even when I was at John's, I knew I wanted to one day do it on my own. I got into the paddling side of it. I really thought it'd be really neat to design something as a kid, and in high school I was always into the artistic side of things. I never was the best at academics, but I always liked using my hands. So I kind of really found a passion for it when working for John Martin. but I knew I needed to learn more. So I went to go work for Corel and thank God I did, because there was such another avenue of an open door of things to learn there. In 2001, I started my own thing. I just figured out, it'd be kind of cool. Let's take that chance. You want a little more freedom in life, take that chance. Let's go for it. I was 26 years old, and went for it, man. I started off small, cheap rent, so that I knew I could start, climbing and putting stuff away to just invest later. And I licensed a canoe from a guy in Big Island, Wilder Canoe. I licensed this canoe called the Waveblade, and I built that for a while. And then he asked me to redesign it for him, and that was what ended up being the Polaris.
Okay.
So it's kind of our first design. I didn't have
For
to
everyone who's seen your canoes, they know that there's always a star name or some theme there. How did that start? Because you've continued it through all your canoe designs, and I love that.
Yeah, when we were, a friend of mine, Andy Penny, was working with me at the time, and we're trying to think of a name to name it. We wanted to give it a cool name, and we're thinking Polaris Missile, and I was like, oh, that's a constellation too. And then the whole constellation thing hit, stars and constellations. The Hawaiians navigated the Pacific, all over with by the stars. And we're not navigating like that, but we are navigating from point A to point B, and we're utilizing the ocean. And so in a sense, we are navigating, especially on a good downwind run or whatnot, you're navigating your way, trying to find the best line. So I thought it'd be a fun relationship with, the star names and the canoes. I don't have a lick of Hawaiian blood in me. So I didn't really want to use the Hawaiian names. I just wanted to stick to the Latin names. So as respect, to the Hawaiian people. So that's why everything's always been kind of, a Latin, just basically the constellation name or the star name, the Latin name.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Polaris, then what? Walk us through the canoe to the canoe to the canoe and get us.
So we had the Polaris, and that was easy. I didn't have to do too much shaping on that. I did really try to fare out the hull as best I could. So I probably took, in some areas, I probably took a good 1/2 inch out of, certain parts of the boat, redesigned the whole deck. Then I went to start shaping from foam and use those skills that Brent Bixler had taught me. The first boat was pretty much a dud, and I wasn't too disappointed about it, but I did have fun with that canoe. If I was out surfing, actually breaking waves at like a surf break or something, I'd surf that. The Arcturus was the name of it. I'd surf it at Makaha all the time, and it was unreal. And all the uncles out there at Makaha were pretty stoked on it, watching it surf. So I never had any troubles out there.
Nice.
And then the next boat after that was the Spica, and it was a small volume boat. And so we named it after a star above Tahiti. We had some success with that. I needed a better ama to really keep the success flowing with that boat, but women seemed to really enjoy the way it served and handled for them. From that boat, I did the Pegasus. Mm-hmm. And it's basically it was like it was nothing like the Polaris, but it was a similar hull that I just made a lot narrower and shorter. And then for men and women both, we had a lot of success with that. After the Pegasus, I moved to Maui, and I met my ex-wife, and so she had a son who was already 6 years old, or he's probably about 4 at the time. But I was like, I would not ever ask her to get up and move to Oahu. I lived on Maui before. I'll go to Maui, I'll check it out, see what it's all about. And, with the canoes, I could make them anywhere and still be just as busy. So I was like, yeah, I'll just pack up the shop and move over. Of course, that was a 2-year operation, but because you didn't want to, cut off manufacturing for a while. So on Maui, the first design I did was a Scorpius.
And that's
And
that and the Pegasus were the first two canoes I ever saw of yours, and they were very popular in California.
yeah,
Popular.
no, the Pegasus did really well, and we held on to that design for quite a while. And there's still people that call us about it just because,
Yeah.
for that small woman, it was super narrow. So, they really enjoy it. Um, yeah. And then, so the Scorpius was the first design here on Maui. We came up, well, a friend of ours came up with a name at the time. She's like, hey, you should name it after Maui's fishhook now that it's on Maui. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So I owe her for that name. And then we did the medium size and the small size versions of that throughout
Which came
the
out
year.
first?
I'm sorry?
The XS, the small or the medium come out first?
The XM came out first, and then the XS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then the Antares was the next design after that. And with the Antares, and you can ask Will. Will was with us when he was living on Maui when we were doing all the prototypes for it. But I probably made 6 different prototypes. I really wanted to get away from that Scorpius design, but I also wanted it to still yet surf like the Scorpius would. But I wanted a whole new avenue in the flat water approach. So we did 6 prototypes and did numerous different cuts to them all, tested them all. It was certainly a fun time for us because, just experimenting, it wasn't more so this is going to work. This is great. It's more like, let's try to do a little bit of this and let's try to do a little bit of that and see what we get. And it was a fun time. And from that, we came out with the Antares. In the Antares, a lot of people, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's sorry to interrupt. That's a very surfboard shaper kind of approach, very experimental. And let's just go out and test something out and get some feedback on it. And then,
oh yeah, no, I mean, we had some wacky, hey, let's just try this. Why not? And some really were great, and others were like, let's go recut that one. But the cool part was because the boats are still pretty light, we're able to, paint them up nice and resell them later, and the people knew what they were used for and all that. But the Antares was the design we came up with after all those experiments, and a lot of people look at it as a larger volume boat, which it was, in the center of the boat. But the entry of it was pretty similar to an XS.
Okay.
It might have even been a little narrower than an XS. So, but most people just looked at the boat and wow, it's a big volume boat, and they would get stuck on that.
Yes, there was a lot of people looking at it and kind of having that reaction. But
yeah,
surprised it was that close to the XS.
Yeah, no. So the entry, that's what we kind of found out is we could really play with that entry and get it down, but yet hold some volume in the middle for the bigger guys. Will and I really enjoyed the boat on Maui and used it I religiously used the Antares and really enjoyed it up to a certain point. And we had the Aries out already. And it was just a smaller version of the Antares with actually some more adjustments as we went. But again, we prototyped with the Aries as well. But it was a funny story. I was building the house that we live in now with a friend of mine. He was actually building it. I was helping him. So I wasn't paddling much. And another paddling friend of mine said, hey, I want to do a long run. I was like, shoot, man, wind looks good this weekend. I'll go with you. I think I'm going to try the Aries out just for, shits and giggles. Man, we did this 38-mile downwind run here on Maui. And when I got done with it, I was like, dude, I thought this boat was way too small for me, but heck no.
Wow.
This is my new boat. The surfing reminded me of like a Scorpius XM and in some of the gnarlier sections of water we have during that run. But the efficiency of it, like I wasn't having to work hard to do the surfing.
What run were you on when you had that experience?
This run on Maui that we did is Kenai all the way to the west end. So we went from Kenai, which is halfway out to Hana.
Uh-huh.
It's a peninsula. And we went all the way around West Maui to Napili.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's about 38-mile downwind. You get in some nice, great, beautiful, clean, open ocean, and then you hit this one section called Kakaloa, and it just turns into a rodeo, especially during bigger conditions.
Okay. So it's
And
the first day of the Maui Nui race.
yep, pretty much just extended another 14 miles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you became an Aries fan that day.
Oh, I did. After that, I was like, dude, that's it, man. This is it right here.
So that kind of brings us to today, because the Aries is still your most common canoe out where I'm seeing canoes on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then you got an idea and something new came out and everyone's starting to say, what's going on here? Please share with us about this new canoe. I want to hear your brain. I want to see like opportunities that you felt maybe were underserved and who would benefit. Just let us have it.
Yeah. So, with the Aries, when you got a good design, there's no reason to go recreate that same market, because one, you're going to kill that design you have. When you got a good design, you want to let it breathe. You want to let it go. So as a designer, you're sitting back like, all right, when's something going to take over to where we got to get back to the drawing board. And that's why during that time with the Aries, I did the Gemini, then I did the Vega.
The Vega, yeah.
Because it was like the Aries was still, doing really well. So I was like, there's no sense, killing its stride. I've seen other companies do that. Well, they'll come out with a new design in a couple years, and that one boat that they had was climbing still. If they come out with a new design, it just squashed the climb. So, I didn't want to play that game. So it was during COVID, before the whole COVID thing, and the idea really, okay, shoot, you know what, I'm gonna go do this. I did a little bit of traveling around. The main point was I went up to Eastern Canada, and I did a Dragon Boat Festival with the Ozone rep up in Ottawa, and hung with them for a week. Did the event with them, promoted all the Ozone brand canoes, even my competitor's canoe. Just tried to get as many people out on all the different canoes as we could. And I was standing there with them. Got to participate in the Dragon Boat race. I jumped in with the Ottawa Fire Department.
Nice.
Good fun. Good
Super
fun.
fun. I think more outrigger paddlers need to realize the Dragon Boat's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is, and I think for me that day, jumping with those firemen and firewomen, it was even more fun. So there was no pressure. We didn't train for it. We just got together, and it was a blast. It was a blast. I mean, we did really well as well, so it was good fun. But I'm standing there with Trevor, and I was like, he's like, man, it's too bad you got to dig out, because too bad you have to leave and go to Dallas. Because there's another event in, I think it was 2 weeks or the next weekend in Toronto, and there'll be a good amount of people there. I said, oh, so all these people are going? He's like, no, not too many of them are going. And I was like, so you're telling me that all these people here aren't going to that one, and that one's even bigger? Bingo. There's a lot of paddlers out there, a lot more than you would think, especially growing up in Hawaii.
Right.
And I know at dragon boating, a lot of clubs do their one-man time trials and stuff like that. And so, the back of my mind, I always thought, it'd be kind of cool to try to accommodate that market a little better. So COVID hits, and, while we had lockdown, it was getting pretty boring.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So I looked at my wife, I said, you know what? I've got a lot of foam up there that I could just start gluing up right now. You know what? That's it. I'm on it. And that was it. And the whole idea was to do a canoe that would really complement dragon boaters or people in calm water, areas. I mean, as I was designing it and talking to other people, I didn't even think about, places like Southern California or, East Coast, or I was just thinking really kind of dragon boaters, and rivers and lakes and small waterways. And as I started doing my homework with people all over the place. Um, the amount of interest that came from all these other areas is just like, oh wow, this might be kind of cool.
Right on.
And then when Will came out was it last spring? I think it was last spring. All right, when things kind of opened up a little, he got to try the boat, and he was like, "Oh man, Southern
Yeah.
Cal, here we come." I was like, "Oh, cool."
Right on.
Hmm.
So tell us about this design then. Let's go in, bring us the name first off.
The name of this new design is Draco,
Okay.
and that's because the whole dragon boat world, the idea really came to fruition at that race, at that dragon boat race in Ottawa. So we wanted to, again, give thanks to that sport and name it after the sport pretty much. And on a side note, in doing that, we did a lot of different things to complement dragon boaters. We're going to be able to rig it on either side, the AMA.
Yeah.
And in doing that, it'll help, those dragon boaters that are pretty agile on the AMA. It help them in their time trials not to use the AMA on the side they're paddling. But there's also a lot of dragon boaters that aren't that agile with the AMA, and they want the AMA there for comfort, so they'll be able to have it. So no matter what side you paddle on the dragon boat, and whatever your coach tells you got to paddle in your time trial, you can take care of, you can benefit yourself with that AMA. Just rig it one way or the other.
How long does it take to swap out from left to right?
Oh, it's just re-rigging.
So the first thing I thought of was, and I know it's not made for surfing, but sometimes when you surf a left or a right, you kind of wish the AMA was on the other side.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you are used to it being on that one side always. I have a feeling it's going to really be awkward paddling it with it on the other side.
It's going to screw me up. Yeah. I can't wait though. That's going to really.
I'll probably just keep it on my left.
I think this would actually maybe help some people straighten out a little bit. Maybe there's some benefit to somebody to squid.
No, I can definitely agree with that, because when I get in the surf ski, when I get really tweaked from the one man constantly, I'll get in a surf ski and I'll use that for about a month just to try to center myself back again. Because it's either your butt cheek or your hips, because the AMA's always there. If you're not really leaning on it, you're trying to lean away from it. So you're using one side more than the other. And so we'll go through that same thing where it's like, yeah, it's time to get on the ski for a month and straighten back out.
Yeah.
But right to your point. So it's like, I'll go rig the AMA on the right and
how fun. Yeah.
And then get back to the left when I'm feeling good again. And yeah.
That sounds fun. How long does it take to switch it from the left to the right? Yeah, I think I asked that, but like just pretty quick. Like,
nah, it's just like rigging the boat. You just unrig it, re-rig it. Yeah.
And the AMA just fits in. Okay, that's awesome.
I think the first handful of boats, you'll have to drill yourself the hole on the opposite side, and then change your pin around. But we are going to have a double-headed pin eventually with 2 holes, so that it's just a quick unrig, re-rig.
Okay.
And then the buttons in the boat are on the same measurement. So you'd use the inside button on the, whichever one you use the inside button, or whatever hole you use when you rig, you just use the opposite hole when you change it to the other side.
Okay.
One fun thing we got hit up about was doing the double AMA rig.
Let's hear about that.
So we're going to do that as well. So you can get a spare AMA and spare Yakos, and you can set both up, so you have an AMA on both sides. It can be good for say Paralympic people that are training. Actually, I've had a handful of older people in their 70s call about that, just because they don't want to go out and worry about stability. They just want to go out and cruise.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a fun little aspect as well. And then we've also been hit up by a couple dragon boat clubs that rig 2 boats together.
Double hull.
Yeah. So what we'll probably end up doing is we can get the tubing done at the factory, and if there's a good amount of people wanting it, we may just do that, or I can just customize some Yakos here, and it's just straight bar, rig the 2 boats up. the thing with that is the double ama and the double hull, you're not going to have to worry too much about heavily over strengthening those areas, because you're not going to go do that in the surf too much.
Okay.
No, it's just going to be too much friction on the two amas. And most cases, if you do need the two amas, you're not going to go venture out into anything too crazy anyway. And then,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
There's a game my girls like to play where they spin in opposite directions. I just had a vision of putting the canoe in different directions and rigging one on the right, one on the left, and connecting it. And just watch.
Yeah, just 360 it.
So next time I get together with a bunch of paddle friends, I see some crazy fun happening with this canoe. It's just different.
It's cool. Actually a fun idea, because when we do get the canoes here in December or January, we want to put them together and show all the different options you can do.
Yeah.
And then, just put out a quick video so that people can understand what they can do with the canoe.
Can you promise me that you'll put the transformer noise on during the video when you change the rigging?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear that. That's what I want. Cool. So this canoe sounds super awesome. How about the ama? How about the rudder? Talk to me about how those are different, if they are, and why or why not.
The first handful that are coming out after all the Draco that are coming out after January will have a new ama on it. It's similar to the ama we have. The rocker is toned down just a hair, but then the nose is knifier.
Okay.
For first, I'd say about 3.5 feet, and the bottom's rounder, so you don't have that friction in the flat water. Flat bottom and flat water. If you're really good on your ama, you can just let it tap.
Mm-hmm.
But for most part, it's nicer having a rounder bottom. Cleaner exit on the ama as well. Yeah. So all in all.
So you're saying there's going to be an initial batch with the Aries ama, and then after that, it's going to be an ama that's a little more custom for this particular canoe?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
And we may find it works good in the surf too. It just depends, when we do get that ama, I was going to put it on my boat, on my Aries, and go try it out there and see how she feels.
So your canoes are known, and everyone I talk to is just doing really well in the surf. And you're surrounded by big water. You're in Hawaii, and that's when you go out in the morning to go paddle, you're in water. That's ocean water. How do you find a way to develop a canoe for a flat water paddler surrounded by the big bump that you've got?
I think basically starting with what you have, understanding your design and what might hurt you a little bit in the flat, and going from there. Back in the mid 2000s, I was around a lot of K1s for a couple years there, and whenever I'd show up to World Championship or I didn't paddle K1s, and I wasn't trying to, but I was traveling with my ex-wife, and I would, as a designer, I would always go by every country's tent and see what they had. And Germany always had their own boats. And so I really just, I'd always just look at lines and look at rocker, and, I would examine as I'd walk by. I'd stand there for like 10 minutes. They probably thought I was some weird dude, but I was in kidland, man. I was having fun, checking out all the different designs. And so that kind of gave me a little bit of idea. But again, back to knowing how the Aries could probably excel at the flat, and using that as my starting point, and looking at other flat water designs. No one's really, basically for me, what I want to do is when I come out with something is this is for this design is for this, or this design is for that. And that's, I don't want to change my mind or try to change people's minds halfway through the life of the design because now it's not working in that, or it's not working in that. I want it, once I release it, I know this is what it's for. So I did a lot of thinking and using the Aries a lot to see how the water pushes, and where we could take away volume, where I might want to add volume, all that. So cross, your windage and all, I mean, everything, because it's flat water, you're really trying to scale back on everything as much as possible. Any disruption or anything like that. The fun thing with the ocean canoes that we've been designing, because of the races and the reach you have with ozone, the Aries, I actually put a lot of flat water emphasis into the Aries from a surf canoe, because I knew that I'd hit markets that had a little bit of surf, but most cases would be calm. So I'm not saying I designed it for flat water, but I wanted to make sure it still ran pretty well in flat, but I wanted to make sure it surfed.
Got it.
So I thought, using that as a good guideline was a nice start. So, I drew up the Aries full scale and really tone the rocker down, tone the widths down. Did a lot of deck height, where it sat in the water. So when you do see the first one, you'll notice it's a pretty low riding canoe.
Interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of the thought with the low riding canoe was a dragon boat time trial. If you're having to do a time trial with crosswind, you don't want to be blown all over the course. You want to just keep cutting through the water. So there's a lot of height taken out of the deck, and on both front and back.
Very cool.
Yeah. The rudder that we're using is it's our surf ski rudder from the Vega. And
Oh, really?
We're using that on the one mans as well. It's kind of like quote unquote our mid-water rudder. And on a ski, you don't need as much steerage. You just need the boat to track. So the rudder was designed initially smaller for the Vega, because you're not like a one man where you're all over the ocean surfing. You're kind of just aim, point, and shoot. So you're really not needing so much rudder on a surf ski. And so when we started trying it out on the Aries, we realized that, on a moderate day, this is a fun rudder. You can feel the less drag, but yet you still have that maneuverability and you're not spinning out. So when I did all the testing on the Draco, I used that rudder.
Okay.
And of course it is Maui and it is me. I took the boat out in a lot more conditions I probably should have. But she held,
Okay.
So I was like, this would be the basic rudder, as well as we have a more vertical flat water rudder, and I got that design idea off of K1, just to have a little better tracking in the flat water. It's not going to be a fun weed rudder by any means, because it's pretty vertical, but it will help you just track in the flat better.
Okay. One thing that's there, I heard you mention about this canoe is it's a lower volume boat. People mention that a lot in stand-up paddling and prone and sup and kayak, and I mean just all the craft. Could you take a quick moment and kind of educate me and people about like the why volume matters in some conditions? Why is lower volume helpful in flat water and more?
Yeah, no, I'd love to help you out with that, or explain my 2 cents on it. Now, I've been racing canoes since '97, and all through our time, low volume, when somebody comes to us and speaks of low volume, the number one thought a lot of the paddlers would think, well, back then, a lot of top guys would think, okay, so this boat's super narrow. Because nowadays you get a lot of people trying to, market low volume, it's short, it's this and that, but it might be shorter, but if it's still nice and wide in the middle, I'm not looking at that as low volume. Yeah, you might have taken a foot off your nose and your tail, but if that's what you're calling your volume, you just made a shorter, wider boat. So it doesn't make sense to me. So when somebody talks to me about volume, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to take volume out of the canoe. I'm going to take width out. Okay. Because what you're trying to do is get a sleeker object. And if you got something that's 21 feet long and 17 and a half wide, right, you got volume. But if I made that 15 wide, now I got a 21 foot long boat that's 15 wide, that's a sleek piece of machinery right there. That's slick. And so we always, when discuss volume, that was our thing, the width, because that's what's going to slow you down.
Okay.
You want length. I mean, you look at yachting, the smaller boats are handicapped. The shorter yachts are all handicapped. You start distance races earlier than with the longer boat. So yeah, the volume thing is important. In the surf, you want the volume because you want to be able to float on stuff. You want to be able to keep your glide longer. The more volume you have, the longer you'll stay on top and float. The less volume, you'll sink a lot quicker back
Got
into
it. That's
the water.
super helpful.
Yeah. So I mean, man, you get your lift on a bump and you're surfing it. If you're a low volume boat, that hull is going to sink back into the water a lot quicker. So you're going to lose that plane a lot quicker.
Okay.
Where the larger volume boats, they'll hold that plane a little longer because it's taking more pressure to fall back into the water at that speed. Where in flat water, you want the low volume just because generally you're not going to get to those high end speeds. They're going to lift you and float you for a while. You want something that's going to have the least resistance.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there like a weight to this canoe that's been changed at all? Is this pretty similar in weight to the Aries being low?
In weight?
Yeah, as far as how heavy it is it lighter?
You know, we're hoping it's going to be lighter because we tried to really eliminate a lot of the details that are, say, in the Aries, like that ridge up in the nose and stuff like that. We really tried to limit all those details so that you're not having to put extra carbon roping up there or reinforcement to make sure you got, you know, a solid bag up in there or anything like that. So, and also toning down, well, bringing in the width, but also toning down the height of the deck. Now there's a lot less material being used. So the whole thing with this boat was really trying to limit as much, you know, take as much weight off as we could.
Okay.
You know, I'm excited to see once they get into the full flow of production, what type of weight we'll be at. You know, I'd say the first 10, you know, they're still learning the layup and where to put everything. So, you know, you might have bigger overlaps than normal. But as they go on, I'm super curious to see if we can, you know, be under 17 for regular and be, you know, closer to 15 for a pro.
So that was my next question. Is there going to be a pro version?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. And I think I'm getting the first one though. I'm getting a special pro made for me. So it's colored.
I was just going to say, let me guess, it's going to be gray, but you're saying it's going to be color?
Yeah, it's going to be colored. So it's going to be yellow, but you know, I've been doing that lately just for safety colors. You know, now with two little ones, I'm not a spring chicken anymore either. I like to be seen when I'm out there.
Very cool.
But I do notice there is extra weight in that boat
because of the paint.
Being colored. Yeah. If you're trying to go lightweight, the gray pros are the money. I just was trying to get fancy with the colored pro, and you know, you can definitely feel a little bit of weight difference. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the running joke is, what color is your armor going to be?
Yeah.
Since that's one customizable part.
Yeah, well, you can do cockpit too.
Yeah,
but,
no, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So,
and then, and that's the thing. I just wanted, you know, for our team, like we have the colored Yakos for our team. And for me, it's just, I'm trying to come up with these little ideas so I can stand out from the other teams that are out there, especially, you know, Ozone, you have a couple companies under one umbrella. So everything is going to kind of look the same. But, you know, like our boats, you know, whether you're in first or you're in fifth, you know, I still want that boat to, that's a Kaiba team guy coming in right there. You know, you can tell because he's got the colored Yakos. Or, you know, then I was like, hey, let's try a colored boat and see what kind of weight we can get at, you know, a colored pro. Yeah.
So when you're bringing in the canoe width, does that make it tippier? Is that a concern for any paddlers there?
It all depends on your seating height from the water line, really, because initially I would have thought it would have made the Draco tippier, but I think there's just more canoe in the water, so it feels to me a little more stable than the Aries.
Okay,
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah. Like I can rig it on tippier settings.
Can you vary the rigging?
Yeah, so the rigging on the hull will have 2 spots, just like the Aries, and the Amo will also have the 2 spots.
Nice.
And yeah, yeah.
And are you available for people who are trying to figure out how to rig it?
Oh, always. Yeah. My wife and I, she's really, she likes that people can come straight to us and ask us questions because it just, it's more fun
That's a big deal.
talking to somebody else that's, yeah.
Yeah, when you're approachable like that, that's a big deal when someone feels like they can contact the shaper. And I know some good friends of mine that struggled with the rigging to really lock it in and dial in what was best for them. And I'm sure case by case basis. So
no, and it is 100% a case by case basis. There's some people out there that tell you with a straight face, only a certain amount of people can feel. You can't feel, dude. Everybody can feel. You get pinched, you feel that. You sit in your boat, you feel a little chop. Everybody can feel. Don't let anyone ever tell you you cannot feel. Rigging is very important for you, the paddler, to rig it to what you feel best. Not, oh well, Karel Tresnek rigs it like this. Well, if you know Pat Dolan, he rigs it complete opposite. Pat's no slouch either, So I mean, and so we actually did. We're starting to get a lot of people coming to us. Well, how do you rig your boat? And it's like, don't worry about how I rig my boat. You go out and you find the best comfortable spot for you, because you and I are different. We got great guys on our team that are great watermen, and so we asked everybody just out of our own curiosity too. So we sent us a sheet out to all the team writers. How do you rig your boat?
Yeah.
All over the place.
Oh, wow.
And some of the fastest guys rig it the most stable.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Like Tuarango, he's a Tahitian, Pat Dolan. They rig their boats exactly the same. And I mean, I can tell you that Tuarango's balance is probably a heck of a lot better than my balance. But that's how he rigs his boat. That's how he feels comfortable with it.
You keep saying the word comfort, and that's your canoes have a great reputation for being very comfortable. Many people, including myself, who like to go for longer paddles, that's kind of the biggest deal. It's if you're not happy and comfy in your canoe, you're going to be miserable. How's the new canoe handle as far as comfort? Is that still going to be a big part of your strengths?
Yeah, so comfort, yeah, definitely. I'm all about comfort. So a quick backstory on comfort. When I first started making the wave blade for Wilder Canoe, his boat had to be the most comfortable boat I've ever paddled. And I did a solo in it. And my okole my butt was so raw. I had a hard time showering for a week. And my muscles on the front of my shin, because the footwells were such at an odd angle, they were cramping that whole
wow. Shin splints.
Oh, I came back in 2 weeks later. I said, you know what? I'm going to redesign these footwells. And I made my own footwell mold for the boat, night and day. And so right there, I was like, dude, I bet if I was more comfortable, I could have got second, not third in that race, because it's a 32-mile race. You're out there for 3:45 to 4:15, hour mark. And dude, if you're uncomfortable, you're fighting that.
You're thinking about the wrong thing the whole time. You're not.
Yeah, you're spending energy, one, trying to find a comfort zone, fighting that feeling, and then mentally just being frustrated with how uncomfortable it is. So that's a lot of energy being wasted on something that could have been taken care of. So ever since then, that was 2001. Ever since then, it's always been about comfort. Karel's boats were always really comfortable. I never had an issue when I paddled John Martin's boats either. And that was my number one thing is, man, I've got to be able to sit in this for 4 hours and, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Not so. I feel that the Draco would be very comfortable. The cockpit's a little different from the prototype, but the heights are the same. So your heel height to where your butt bone height is the same, or the bottom of the seat. And that was very comfortable. It's even a little deeper than the Aries seating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look closer to the water there.
Your feet are.
Okay.
So it's more like, you're in more of a ergonomically set position when sitting.
Cool.
Yeah. Because that is. I always tell everybody, bro, you got to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable, maybe try a different boat, whether it's not, even if it's not mine. I mean,
and to your credit, I've heard you tell people that, or people have told me that you said that, like, hey, if you're not comfortable, maybe my boat's not your boat. And so that's a good thing for a shaper to say. It's like, look, you got to find what's good for you. And if people have said, you've mentioned that to them. So
yeah, it's always been my MO. I mean, yes, I would love to make a sale, but that's not the number one goal here. If we're making our sales, great, but I'm not going to sit here and force something down you. If you feel you're faster on someone else's boat, good on it, good on you. That's always kind of been our thing. That's why with our dealers, it's like, we always just tell them, just give the paddler a chance to feel them all out. They'll know what's best for them once they paddle them all. Where you'll hear other guys just like, my boat's the best, you got to paddle my boat, or they'll be somewhere and they'll just keep reiterating that you got to get in my boat. Or I've talked to a couple guys in Southern Cal who've been cornered and pressed that they should be in another boat by the person who was the designer of that boat. And it's like, dude, that's not how we should roll, man. Give people a choice. If they're comfortable in that, let them be. They're going to enjoy the sport that much more. So
what's your favorite of your boats that you've ever paddled? Because you had a good race in it, or because you did the best, or who knows? What's your best?
No, I would definitely say that the Aries has been my favorite boat.
Yeah.
For sure. I've had great times in a lot of the other designs along the way, but she's definitely been my favorite boat.
Right on. What's your favorite downwinder to do it on an Antares? If you could do one race and one downwinder in your favorite boat, what would they be?
I always love the Kaiwi, and that's definitely my favorite race, with wind, of course. I've done enough of those calm, and those aren't that fun.
And go in the right direction.
Yeah. My favorite run to do is Maui to Lanai. Yeah, we've got a couple videos out of that, and when the wind's on, you're not going to find a better run that lasts that long. That it's consistent the whole way.
Maui to Lanai or Molokai to Lanai?
No, Maui.
Maui, okay.
Yeah, so it's about a 30-mile downwind run.
Okay.
And it's a lot better angle than Maui to Molokai. It's pretty epic.
Right on.
Yeah, it's pretty epic.
Anything in the future we can look forward to outside of this awesome new canoe we get to see soon? And timeline, you said January for the new canoe, Draco.
Yeah, we're supposed to have a bunch here in November, but as with worldwide shipping happening, I'm kind of just sitting back. When they get here. I don't want to get frustrated over it, because it's really out of our hands. It's out of Ozone's hands. So yeah, we're supposed to have our first year ready. So I'm guessing January.
Okay.
For the future, nothing really yet. I do feel like it'd be fun to start kind of just prototyping and projecting, but we're still super happy with the Aries and how it's been going. Sales are still really well. So it's hard to, again, like I was saying earlier, it's hard to take something that's doing so well and then try to recreate it. Sure. and squash it when there's no need for that yet.
Just give it a different color. call it the Aries 2.
Yeah, right. The 2.0. Go redo the deck and make it look different. No. I got some fun ideas, but again, that's why it'd be kind of just fun prototyping so that, we're ready to go when the day does come versus, being stuck behind or whatnot.
What's the best way for people to get a hold of you? How can we find out more about the canoes after this interview? And
they can email us direct through our website, kaiba'a.com. If they just got questions, not a problem. We're always here to answer. If they do have good relationships with their local dealers, those are good people to get in touch with as well. If they want to hear it direct from us, would love to explain some of the stuff we did with the canoe. I haven't paddled the production model yet, so I won't have much to be able to tell about that. But my whole thing is just being straight up with everybody. So I've got the plug here, the 40-pound plug, and we've had some fun on that.
Right on.
But if they just got questions on rigging or what else will be, what is also coming on the boat, because we wanted to we really wanted to cover a large market of people, is we did a lightweight foot pedal plate, like a surf ski plate.
Okay.
That you thumb screw in further back, so that if you're 5'3" or shorter, you're still sitting in kind of the right spot.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't want to do a whole sliding system, because then you got this big well that can collect water. The sliding system, just again, back to the weight thing, adds a little more weight. And we just really wanted to keep things trimmed down on the weight. So we decided, we'll just thumb screw in a foot pedal plate that's set for small feet and everything. Nice. And it'd be kind of like the Gemini attachment, just a quick, okay, in and out. And then you go at the knot, in and out on those pedals, and off you go.
Very cool. I've had
like
Gemini. That your Gemini is just like a one man for two people to enjoy. It's so fun. Yeah. So I've had so many good times with runs on that canoe. So it's
awesome. That was our goal with that canoe for sure. And trying to make something that felt like maneuver and surf more like a one man.
Very much so, yeah.
You'd be in some two mans, and you're like, yeah, it's gonna be a little hard in the surf. But we wanted it to be able, run well flat, run well surf, and try to cover all the bases. Yeah, the funny thing is a lot of couples would be like, oh, the 2-man, it's a divorce boat. We came up with a new name for the Gemini. It's the honeymoon boat.
Well, as somebody who's going to be racing this weekend with his wife, we race together OC2 once a year.
Nice.
It's about that amount of time before we're ready to hammer it together again. But every time we get out of the boat, we're smiling. Maybe one of these days we'll do it in a Gemini, but it's in a John Martin, so there's still some lineage there.
That'd be fun. Yeah, we made a good number of those. Yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you so much. I think we answered a ton of questions. I look forward to connecting with you in the future. If ever anything in California you need, you got a whole state of people that are looking forward to helping you out. If you can come over, we'll share our waters with you, and then we know you will do the same when we come visit you.
No, awesome. Of course. I mean, that's what's the beauty about the paddling community. You can share experiences around the world and have these friendships around the world. And I don't really see too many other sports that have that. That community base. It's killer. It's killer. But yeah, no, I'd be stoked to get over there. I know Lindsay and I were trying to plan on something in December, but we're not sure if the canoe will make it in time. So, if he's got stuff going on that he wants me to come up for, from Maui, it's a quick trip. I can be up for a couple of days and be back at home and wrestling with the kids. So, if he needs me up there for a couple demo sessions with the Draco, I'm there.
Right on. Help us out. Cool. Well, thank you again. And I look forward to the next time we get to hang out and chat, talk story.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right. We hope.
Take care.